Well, good evening. I call the regular meeting of the Ames Conference Board to order. Good evening, board members. Thank you for coming. And we will go ahead and start with roll call.
Ames City Council.
Present.
Present.
Story County Board of Supervisors.
Here.
Ames Community School District.
Here.
Gilbert School District.
Here.
United School District. And Nevada School District.
Here.
All right, move on to item number 2, motion approving minutes from February 28th, 2023, April 18th of last year, and May 16th. Does anyone have any corrections or amendments to those minutes? Hearing none, entertain a motion approving all 3 minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, we'll move on with item number 3, annual report from Sherry.
Good evening, everybody. So I did send out with the agenda, the packet of information. I'm going to go over some just real brief points on this. Hopefully you've all had a chance to review it. And we're going to start with our staff progress. This is the current list of our staff. We do have 7 people, including myself. Currently, I do not have a deputy assessor, but we will get into that in just a little bit. We have 3 residential appraisers, the appraisal tech, appraisal clerk, and the database manager. Some highlights and activities over the past year. We did mail updated assessments to all the properties, so just over 21,000 properties got new notices. We added just over $1 billion in value for 2023. That was an 18.9% increase overall. That did equate to a 4.6% increase in taxable value. So I know there was a lot of talk last year about the large increases that some people did receive. But overall, when you get back to the taxable value, the assessment limitation that is in place does help to bring that down. So not everybody saw an 18% increase or the 40% increase or whatever. Overall, though, it was a 4.6% increase. We did receive over 1,000 informal review requests after we sent out those notices. We got through quite a few of them. We did have 664 agreements that were signed, so the taxpayer and our office agreed to a value. We did not get through all of them, so some of them we did refer to the Board of Review. In addition to that, some people just went strictly to the Board of Review, so they ended up with just over 350 petitions on 3,079 parcels. From that, we did get 17 appeals to the Property Assessment Appeal Board, which is a 0.006% of the total parcels that were appealed. That's fairly low, which I think we did a pretty good job because when I got here, I had over 30 appeals that were sitting there waiting to be heard. And with sending out notices to everything and the amount of increases we had, that 0.006%, I feel is a pretty good number. And we did appeal and successfully overcame the tentative 6% increase to residential value from the Department of Revenue. So it was an equalization year. They did issue a tentative order for residential to increase an additional 6%. I did appeal that to the state and I did have that removed. So we did not end up having to have that 6% additional increase. Next, please. We received and processed 2,525 new applications for the Homestead 65 Plus. That was done right after that new law passed in May. So in May and June, we had all of those people come in to sign up for that new exemption. This was in addition to the regular homestead and military exemptions that we had that people were already coming in for that would have been normal. I created a mass appraisal report this year that summarized all of our value changes that was put out on our website last fall. And that does entail what changes were made and the reasons why, including the sales ratio studies that were part of that reason for the increases. We had just finished moving our data and backups to the city IT and servers, and that includes enhancing our security. The IT department was very helpful with this. A lot of the processes that we had been doing with our backups and such were done by an outside vendor. We did find a critical issue that was not being monitored by the outside vendor that the city IT department did find. And they were already doing quite a bit for us through the MOU that was signed back in 2021. So this really isn't anything in addition to what they're doing. It just makes things more seamless for us and for the city. We are on a lot of the same systems, and with us being on a different backup system, and that kind of the security wasn't quite there, and the city IT was kind of worried about that, and they're now much happier. So we are currently reviewing properties that are exempt from taxes, such as churches or other nonprofit organizations, to make sure that they are in compliance and continue to be in compliance with those laws. We do have a couple of them that we are asking for more information on because we do not think that they currently qualify. So one of the processes that I feel are important is to make sure that if somebody's going to get a tax exemption and the other taxpayers are picking up that burden, that we make sure that they are actually qualified and continue to be qualified.
Sherry, are you going to discuss this further in our part of your report? If not, could you talk about just the fact that you're looking at Iowa State University, you're looking at, just the magnitude of what you have to do in order to comply with Iowa code?
So these properties that we are reviewing are ones that have to have an application.
Okay.
They're not the ones that would under code be exempt because they are federal, state property or municipal property.
Got it.
So these are just the properties that we're reviewing that have to have an application turned in.
Got it.
In addition, we will be reviewing properties that all the other entities have, just to be sure that they are also in compliance and that they're being used for a public purpose. Increasing public outreach through radio interviews and speaking engagements. Last week, I just went and talked with the Hunziker Group and gave a presentation to all of their realtors to show them what we are doing and what our process is going forward with reviewing properties and what our plans are in the future. Building costs were updated last year for the 2023 year using the 2020 Iowa Real Property Appraisal Manual. This was mandated by the state that it was done by 2024, and we did meet that goal last year. That would have been the 2023 valuations that we sent out. The staff have been attending classes necessary to sit for the deputy exam. A little bit ago, I said that I did not have a deputy. I did have a conversation with Chairman Hala about the situation because we could not find a deputy that was suitable, that I thought was suitable to come to the office. So instead, I moved that fund that we would have paid a deputy down to getting temporary help. And in addition to that, we are going to be helping the staff. In fact, Dan is one of the 4 people that will have all the requirements by June to be able to sit for that deputy exam. So getting the staff educated and the courses necessary so that they can sit for the exam. And then we can hopefully go through we will go through the process of application, and they will sit and talk with the HR, myself, the whole process of hiring somebody. So this will, of course, be put out to anybody on that list, but by June, before I even start that process, we will have 4 people, hopefully, from within the office that would be capable of taking that exam and possibly being appointed as deputy. I had 2 temp staff. They are now actually as part of my full-time staff now. So the 2 temps that I had last year that did the data conversion are now into the staff. So that's why we have a full staff. Those 2 temp positions are not filled. I decided instead of data collection, they really should be more of field data collection instead of in-house data, converting data. So I am in the process right now of trying to hire 2 temporary people to help us with the field inspections. And we continue to cross-train everybody to make sure that everybody has a backup and to make sure that everybody understands the whole process of the office and not just one part of it. Next one. So our future for the 2027 revaluation, we are going to begin on-site inspections this spring. My estimate of 12,790 parcels. Now, these are only single-family homes and duplexes that we will be reviewing, and with 5 field staff and getting about 50 done per week, that will be done in about a year. Last time I checked, to do a revaluation with an outside company such as Vanguard, they charge anywhere between $85 and $150 per parcel. They are scheduled out until 2028 or 2029. And with our 20,433 parcels, not including any exempt parcels, we would be looking at about $2.5 million in a reevaluation project. I believe that we can do this ourselves with a couple of extra staff in-house and have it done by 2027. All the while we're doing that, we are still going to be doing our regular work, and anything to do with the revaluation project, we will also be putting updates out on our website on the areas that have been completed, the areas that we're working in, and also we will be sending out letters of explanation to the areas that we are going to be going to. So they will have a couple of weeks to know that we will be out in that area and why we are doing this. As you recall from last year, some properties we have found have not been visited in more than 10 years. And just by our aerial review of the property and the information that we had in our systems, we can tell that there are definitely lots and lots of changes that we are not reflecting in any of our data. And it's important to have good data, because if you don't have good data in, you don't have good data out. And right now we are working on lot sizing our parcels so that we can do land values using market studies and do it by a unit. So it'll be a front foot price or an acre price or a per unit price. Anything like that will all be coming from the market studies that we do. And it will not be just a 25% allocation. Next one. And tax appeals, we do have 19 total appeals. Now, 2 of them are from prior year. So we do have one that is for 2020 or 2021, 2022, and 2023. So that one has been combined into one appeal now. So it's over a 3-year period. And then we do have 13 total commercial parcels. Some of those hearing dates have been set, some have not. We have 6 residential parcels. So far, 1 has been dismissed. We just had 1 withdrawn at the beginning of this week, and 2 were heard, and we did win those appeals. So our assessments were upheld, and 2 are left to be heard yet. They're scheduled for, well, one of them is scheduled for end of February, I believe. So when you look at appeals, one of the things that we are looking at is kind of what are we going to lose in tax dollars if we were to just say, yep, we're just going to go with the value that the taxpayer thinks it's going to be or should be. This is just a brief sheet of what we could possibly lose in 1 year's time should that happen. This only includes the ones that they have actually stated something on their appeal. This is for 1 year only. And it does not include some of the big properties valued, Lowe's, Chick-fil-A, Walmart. None of those have any value stated in their appeal. So we don't know exactly what it is that they feel that their property is worth at this point. I do know that Walmart, the 2 Walmarts and Sam's Club and Lowe's have all had interrogatories sent to them to ask those questions, and they are not returning anything to us at this point. So we have sent out a second set now to find out some more information on those. But if you look at the possible tax dollars lost in appeal, for instance, Kohl's, if they were to get their value difference, they believe their value should only be 3.9 million. We have 6 million on it right now. That's a total loss of $64,000 per year. And since it is a even year or an odd year, the even years, if the value does not change, that value would be for that second year as well. So it's not just 64,000, it's 64,000 times 2. So 130,000 basically is what we'd be losing on just this one property in tax dollars. So I know that cost of appraisal on some of these it seems kind of high, but if you look at the possible tax dollars that are going to be lost, the cost of the appraisal really does show that it is beneficial to go ahead and not settle with what they think that the value should be. We have had a couple of appraisals come back already from the taxpayer side. Menards and Workiva have both sent in their appraisals so far. I have not received the one for Menards for our side yet, or Workiva, but you can see that they do want a significant decrease. Workiva is a little bit of an odd situation because they currently on just phase 2 have a minimum assessment agreement of 13 million, and that's about a third of their building. So they think that the rest of their building is only worth $1 million. So I'm really doubting that appraisal. So, which is another reason why we get an appraisal as well.
Sherry, didn't you say that, don't you need to have a second appraisal anyway when you go to, can you explain that to the
Yes.
board?
Yeah. So a lot of the times, sometimes you get even 2 appraisals for a property to decide what that value is. One appraisal, appraisals are an opinion of value, and everybody, of course, has a different opinion. So a lot of the times, the courts and PAB both, they want to see at least 2 appraisals for the property, not just one appraisal. So that's a lot of the times why both sides get an appraisal. Then we go through them and we show the differences in theirs to ours and why ours should be upheld or why theirs may have some errors in it. But it is an opinion of value, and so getting more than one opinion is always a good thing.
Sherry, do you have an idea as to why the Walmart cost is 7,000 and the rest of them are 15,000, 20,000?
The North Grand Mall.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the North Grand Mall, that was from the 2021. I have not got anything back yet for 2022 or 3.
Okay.
So that was a couple of years ago.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And sometimes they're not as much if there's an updated appraisal because they don't have to go through all of the process. There are different companies that are involved too, so it does depend on what kind of property it is sometimes, who a good appraiser would be for it. And sometimes I put RFPs out to try and get as much feedback as I can, and talking with other assessors as well. What appraisers are good on the stand as witnesses, who's not, because sometimes that will also kill the case. So, not only is it cost effective to go through that, but we don't want to spend all that money and not have a good appraisal.
Thank you.
And Sherry, if you could just clarify, this is sort of a helpful conversation to have. There's a reason why you're acting independently from us. So we don't have a role in trying to encourage you to squeeze more money out of the taxpayers. The goal is just to be fair on the assessment.
Correct.
Because arguably, pick one of those companies, if we don't treat them fairly and they move out of town, then we're going to get next to nothing, right? So our goal is to be fair with people. So we're,
Right.
So we want you to do these appraisals for the purpose of having a right answer. And it's not exact science, but this process does not involve this board trying to leverage your efforts to squeeze every dollar we can, because that's really not our role. I just want to make
Right.
sure that's, if people are watching this, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, that is a very valid point. This is there just simply because of the return on investment type of situation. So should we spend this money if, say, we were only going to have a $6,000 difference?
Right.
Is it worth us even spending that money, or should we just go ahead and settle with the taxpayer? I myself only put that in there because that is a question that is asked every single time. It's not about, well, what's the proper value? It's how much are the taxes going to be? And I understand that, but my job really is to make sure that I am fair and equitable to every taxpayer, no matter who they are, no matter if it's the Walmarts or if it's somebody who has a single family home. My job is to make sure that I have 100% value on it and it's a fair and equitable value compared to other like properties.
And it's good for us periodically to just remind ourselves that that's what the purpose of this is. There are certainly jurisdictions where that's not the reputation of the assessment process. And the view is, how do we squeeze these taxpayers for every dollar we can? And that's not what we're here to do. So
Right.
thanks for
Yep.
explaining that.
Yeah.
And I'll let Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the mini conference board meeting, you said that a lot of these companies, it's common practice for them to make these
Yes.
appeals. It's not that
Correct.
necessarily anybody did anything wrong. This is what they
Correct.
is part of their business.
So this is just a summation of some of the other information that you guys have. And if you looked at there's another sheet in there that I did not put in the PowerPoint. It shows you that, in fact, I believe Walmart every 2 years since 2015, maybe, they have appealed every 2 years. So every equalization year, they appeal. And that's common practice, not just here, everywhere. A lot of these Walmart, Kohl's, Lowe's, usually Hy-Vee, Menards, all of those across the state appeal every single year to every single jurisdiction. So,
And given the amount of money at play, they have a very good reason to do that. So
Right.
I'm not faulting them for, that's their mean, they have enough money at stake where it's worthwhile to at least test the waters. I'm not sure I would do anything different. But thanks. That was
Yeah.
a good question.
Um, oh, just for instance, I just received the Walmart appraisal for our side. We currently have the assessed value. I currently have the assessed value at 21 million. The appraisal for our side came in at 22.2 million. So that's just, one of the reasons my value, I believe, was a good value, and the appraisal showed that it was a good value. And I just got that like on Friday. Okay. The rest of this is budget information. So I don't know if you want to go over that now or later when we actually receive the budget and,
Let's do it all together at one time then.
okay.
You have future plans you want to talk about?
So a couple of things that the office is kind of going through is we're kind of squeezed in for space and for a place where we can have a group meeting without people standing around. We have a small table and trying to have a meeting within the office so that everybody is involved at the same time so they can hear the same questions and be able to answer the phone or have somebody help somebody at the counter. We're going to do just a little bit of remodeling. I've talked with the city about this, and they're going to move a doorway and then add a wall where two people sit in a back office or kind of in a little cubby office. So we're going to make that a little bigger and put a conference room type situation in there. We have gotten rid of, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 cabinets of paper files. So all of those file cabinets are going to be out so that we have a little more space out in the front so that we can move those people out in the front. So that we can kind of make the office a little more open and cohesive. Everybody's out being able to see everybody and see what's going on in the front and everything. So that's going to take just a little bit of this budget from this year. I don't foresee it to be over about 7,000, but I did budget 10 just in case. The city IT is going to come up and move a couple of drops so that we have better connections for the people that we're moving, because we do have a couple that are very slow. They don't have real good connectivity. So we're going to have that done. We're also going to add the 2 temps for about a year. I don't foresee it being over a year. And then, of course, moving somebody from within the office from the full-time position they're in now, hopefully into the deputy position. So if you're looking at this particular part of the budget, this is all about salaries. And a lot of this information was estimated by the city's payroll department using the information that they are estimating for the city employees. So that is what these proposed budget numbers are from. And if you'll look at the last couple of lines on here, the unemployment, or let's see, life and disability insurance, you can see that that one has, those last 2 numbers for 25 are quite different from the year before. Some of the just fund line items were not really in the proper place, so we're trying to get those straightened out, which is why a couple of these are a little more than what they were last year or a little less. you want to go to the next one? And then these are the regular expenses that we have, the Board of Review, our general expenses for GIS and mapping projects, office supplies, the revaluation appraisal line, that is for the commercial consultant that I have right now. We're going to continue with him for another year, 1 day a week, so that he can come in and help me get all of the exempt properties listed and valued. This year, we did have to turn into the Department of Revenue a total exempt property report. It included all of the values and everything. One of the things that they have been stressing the last couple of years is that even if it is an exempt property, it still should be valued. And a lot of the properties were not valued because they were exempt and they were not going to produce anything. So assessors just didn't assess them. The department is saying that they should be assessed. The law says they should be assessed, so we are to assess them. This will be done for all properties, including all of the city hall, all the churches, ISU property, everything. So this will entail quite a bit of work there's over 500 exempt properties that we have to get through and value and list all of them as well.
Is there, excuse me, a deadline when that has to be done, Sherry?
There is not a deadline yet, but I can tell you it's probably going to be in the very near future. So it's probably best to get it done sooner than later.
Sherry, I have another question, sorry. So the commercial consultant, in the spreadsheet that we have, almost the last column, no deputy commercial consultant. So are you saying there that this position is being funded with the funds that would have otherwise?
Correct.
Okay, so
Right.
this position is going to continue another year, but we're moving those funds into 2 more temporary temp positions.
So for 25, it's going to be an addition. And the
Okay.
deputy will be funded, also the 2 temps and the consultant.
Okay,
So that's why there is some increase in the overall budget in the end.
okay,
But for 24, the money that was budgeted for the deputy was used to get the temp people through and for the commercial consultant.
okay. And then one more question about the temps. Earlier, you said there were 2 temps.
Mhm.
They're now full-time. So we're talking about 2 more temps. Is that right?
So I was not fully staffed when I started. And so one of the things that during the process of hiring the temps, then we also were hiring for full-time people. So they were a temp part-time because that's where they were hired in the first place. And then they applied for the full-time positions and subsequently were hired
Okay,
as full-time.
okay. So they were hired into existing vacant full-time positions.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, could you just, it's a good question, and I think that this board has always been sensitive to having an overload of overhead, and staff, but can you just share with some of the challenges you're facing right now? I mean, you say a temp for 1 year, that's not going to be a temp for this year, and then a temp for next year, and then a temp for the year. You're just trying to get caught up still, is that correct?
Right. So the temps that I have in the budget now are going to be strictly to collect data in the field. That is all they're going to do. So they are going to be collecting data outside, doing the door-to-door inspections. The temps before, they were simply putting data from the old systems into the new systems. They were not helping with anything else. They were not doing any homestead signups, They were not answering the phone, nothing. They were just doing the data conversion. These two will be the same. It will be just inspections. They'll be inputting their own data, and then one of the full-time staff will be reviewing that data that they put in so that we have all the information in there and everything is double-checked for accuracy.
So once that's complete, then will you essentially throttle back and let go of the two
Yes.
temp people?
Yes,
because
so
you
the two
actually got
temps will
caught
be,
up?
it's a one-year position.
Yep.
And if everything goes as I have planned, we'll keep our fingers crossed, then I should not need them for more than a year. Because I believe that with the staff and those two people, we can get through the 12,000 parcels within the year.
And just by, I'm sure the board remembers this, but when Sherry came in, she inherited an office that had a lot of stuff that was not done and wasn't using the Vanguard system and a lot of things. And so she's really been, I think we all knew that there was going to be some investment for a while to get up to speed. Once up to speed, then you're back to level set essentially. Is that correct?
I do want to preface that. We were not using the manual.
Thank you.
The way that the prior administration was doing this was not wrong.
Right.
It's just that the department has required now that the manual be used.
The State Department.
Yes, the Department of Revenue has required that we use the manual now.
Yep.
So,
And you're down from what, 3 systems to just using Vanguard? Is that
correct. Yes,
correct?
yes. Yeah, Dan can attest to the,
Big smile from Mr. Dan.
yeah, it's a huge difference. I think sometimes they wonder how they even got anything done because they had to put it into so many different places. We're trying to also, shore everything up in all of our systems. In our, excuse me, I have been fighting this forever, I think. All of our systems, we're trying to get them so that they're more compact, they're easier to use for all of our staff. We're not trying to find things in 4 different folders. I mean, everything is, we're trying to revamp everything so that's easier to use. And so that also my staff is able to tell the public what's going on. They don't have to just say, you have to ask Sherry, I don't know. They're able to answer questions now that they were not able to answer before.
Better customer service.
Yes.
And also, you're also doing an amazing amount of scanning too, right? And digitizing records too.
So all of those file cabinets, we have sent out well over 70 banker boxes of paper that has been scanned into our system. And so all those cabinets are now digitized and they've been kept, but we don't have to keep the paper anymore. So that frees up a lot of space in our office.
So a follow-up to John's. There have been past years where we sort of micromanage, particular line items. I'm not interested in doing that. But just broadly, once we get over this hump, will your staffing footprint be in parity with other cities of similar size? I mean, I think that's really all I'm interested in is, are we close to what comparable city assessors are?
For the most part, yes. Yeah. With the size that we are and the properties that we have, I think staffing wise, we're fine. You have to remember that every single jurisdiction does things a little differently because there are some places that there's more put onto the assessor's office than others. Some of the auditor's duties, like the transfers and stuff, we do the transfers, but a lot of auditors do it in their system and then it is transferred into the assessor's office. There's a lot of places that it's actually done backwards. The assessor does all that and then it transfers into the auditor's side. So sometimes it's not apples to apples because there are not all 100% duties across the board for everybody. Every single county, every single jurisdiction, cities, city assessors, they all do it a little differently Just depends on how the software works and how things flow in that county or in that city. So, but I think that for the most part, we're going to be fine staffed with 7 people, unless we get a lot more annexations or something. I think that, once the deputy position is filled, that will help a great deal because that will take some stuff off of my plate so that I can concentrate more on doing other things like more commercial work. Right now, Brian, the commercial consultant, is helping do a great deal of that for me and with me. I am also going to have, once the deputy is determined, they will also do some of the smaller commercial properties. So I think that we will be fine in a couple of years with the staff that we have to do everything that we need to do and keep good data going forward.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions on the budget?
You want to go to the last page? I don't know if there's anything on there. A couple of things I just want to point out on this last page, the dues and memberships. So this was increased because I am going to have a number of people able to sit for the deputy exam. They will also have the qualifications to get an ICA designation as well. RES and AAS designations, I would hope that whoever becomes deputy would want to attain those. And everybody can be a member of IAAO and the ISAA. Those are just pretty minor membership dues for those, but they do then have access to all of the information that are on the websites on the back end of those education, publications, standards, court cases and stuff, so they can do some of their own research and get that information while they're doing their work, so they don't have to always come to me, and they can find it themselves. And then they're better educated because they can, of course, relay that to the public as well. And then appraisals, appeals in court, appraisals and outside counsel. This one is a guessing game because we really don't know what appeals we're going to get from year to year. So it really does depend on that, whether or not we are under or over budget on this item. And then overall, the budget does increase a little bit. But last year, there was a pretty good sized amount that had not been spent from the prior year. So I have made an adjustment. Last year, the levy rate for my office was 35 cents per thousand, and now it's reduced down to 32. And that still leaves me with about 25% ending fund balance as of the end of 2025, fiscal year 2025. So I had almost 800,000 from last year carryover. So that was, that ending fund balance was pretty high. Last year I had reduced it just a little bit too, but I didn't reduce it quite enough because I didn't spend nearly what was budgeted last year because we didn't have the deputy and stuff from the 2023 year. So.
Questions? Let's do this. Is there any other thing you want to present on the budget? We'll just jump to item 5 and then go back to item 4. Anything else you want to comment on, Sherry, on the budget?
I think the only thing I want to just make a comment on, Sherry, is I appreciate from our community assessor meeting to tonight that you looked at your reserves and what you could lower. I know that was something you talked about, and that you were able to lower that down. I understand anything you want to have a fund balance is you need to have cash flow and pay your employees and everything like that. So I appreciate you looking at that.
And just to restate what you mentioned earlier, we knew there was going to be some increases in order to get over this hump. And yeah, like about $100,000 for temp employees, your budget theoretically could come down. in a year or two from a standpoint of getting those things, caught up as well too. So I just can't believe what you've accomplished and your staff has accomplished, and thrilled to see that you have 4 people interested in becoming deputy assessors. So that's really exciting to grow it from within versus trying to attract from outside.
I was gonna say the same thing. I appreciate the investment that you've made in the folks that are in the office to help them grow, and even the temps that became full-time employees. It really speaks to what you're doing in the office that I think makes it a lot more sustainable and a lot better for the public.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know if anybody had a chance to read the meet the staff information, but that was them talking. That was not me. They wrote those themselves. I just copy and paste.
I like the superhero one. That was pretty good. Wasn't Dan, but it was somebody else. Anyway. All right. Is there a motion to receive the proposed budget?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carried. And is there a motion to approve the proposed budget?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was
I did.
Amber did,
Yep.
and then Lisa.
Okay.
Thank you. And again, once again, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carried. And we might as well go ahead and go to item 6, then we'll go back up to 4. Is there a motion to set the public hearing date on the budget for February 27th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m.?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, Board of Review. We're just thrilled that we actually have 4 people who have submitted applications to be on Board of Review. Usually it's us trying to beat the bushes and trying to find somebody. But we had one, we were actually anticipating 2, but then we had an unexpected resignation from Gina McAndrews for personal reasons. So we now have 3. So first of all, I make a motion to accept the resignation from Gina McAndrews.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. And we had 3 openings with varying term endings and 4 applications. And Sherry and I have reviewed them. I trust you have had a chance to look at them too. But for the board's consideration, I would like to suggest that Laurel Scott be considered for the expired term on 12/31/23 for the new term that would expire on 12/31/2029. Martin Edelson for the term expiring 2026. And Martin filled in on a short-term basis when someone else couldn't do it, and he enjoyed it so much, he applied to be on the Board of Review. So like Sherry said, did a very good job. And then the other one is Sally Elbert for the term that would expire 12/31/28. All 4 applications were, really good, but just looking through them. Also, Sherry affirmed that the qualifications are required for some people being real estate agents or some kind of, construction background is met. And that would give us 2 men and 3 women on the board. So we're trying to hit gender parity. Obviously with 5, you won't get, equal, but we're trying to get that as well too. But I'd open a discussion on those suggestions, or if you would like to make a different suggestion. All right, so I entertain a motion to appoint Laurel Scott to the board for the term ending 12/31/29, Martin Edelson for a term expiring 12/31/26, and Sally Albert for a term expiring 12/31/28.
Move on all of those.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, any unfinished business? Any new business? All right, this is going fast. This is good. Conference board comments. Board supervisors, we'll start with you. Okay. Kelly and Scott? Joe?
No comments or questions?
Alan?
No, nothing for me.
Just one, I've commented a couple times throughout the years that for residents of Story County, they don't have the same access to Beacon the way that members of most counties in Iowa do. So we can't search by name. We can only search by property address or tax ID number. And just over time, I would love to see our residents have the same search functionality. A lot of people utilize the Beacon search product. It's very valuable. And it makes a world of difference when I'm doing searches in other counties to be able to search. It's just far more efficient. So that's just something to think about at some point down the road.
Well, I'm not here to be a super duper cheerleader, but Sherry, I want to just commend you for what you've done. You came into a difficult situation. We presented you with a challenge and you rose to the challenge, and just thrilled to hear that cross training of staff is going on so Dan can answer questions instead of it being through one person. And I just think that it's we're very grateful. And this succession planning, just take a couple minutes to explain what a shallow pool there is of assessors and deputy assessors and explain what your vision is, because she's single-handedly trying to train the next generation and to have 4 people who may someday, Dan may become, don't leave Dan, but Dan may become a city assessor or a county assessor someplace else and benefit somebody else because of Sherry's legacy. But just, there's not many people available, right?
There are not. A lot of the people that are on the list are in current positions. The association, the Assessors Association, is doing their best to bring people into the business itself. And we're doing whatever we can to try to get the people from within our offices the education they need. We have put on, as an association, more education this year than probably the last 5 years, just because there's such a shortage. I'm also on the ICA Education Committee that helps to write all of these classes so that we can get the people in and trained to be able to take these exams and get more people through it and have something that when I leave, I know that I'm going to leave this position in the same position that I left when I came here from Wright County. And, I had 3 people actually that went on to become assessors and deputies from there in about 5 years' time. I was there for 12 years, and I have under my belt 2 assessors and 1 deputy assessor already. So I think it's a great help, not only for the public, but for myself, because I am not the one that has to stand there and answer all the questions. My staff should be able to do the same, because it's very important. If they don't understand it, then it's not going to work. It's just it doesn't work. They have to be able to stand up beside me and tell the public why we do what we do and enjoy what we do every day.
And
Now,
if
you do have 2 people on Zoom, just so you know, in case they wanted to comment as well.
Oh, yeah. Gloria, do you want to comment?
No, thanks, Mayor.
How about Gilbert?
All good here, thank you.
Thank you. And maybe just comment before you close. You're continuing to take classes on commercial.
Yes.
You just comment, give the board an update on
Yes.
that. And then also, one of the things you shared when you were interviewing was that you like going out to school boards and other entities that are taxing. Just give an update real quickly on
Sure.
how you're doing with that.
So there is a commercial class coming up at the end of May that I'm going to be attending, and also working with the commercial consultant to get a good grasp on the properties, the different types of properties, that are the larger properties. Those are the ones that I think that I'm going to probably need a little help with. The smaller ones, the Casey's and the little Walgreens and stuff like that, those are much smaller and much easier to deal with. Many more sales, but the larger properties are the ones, the industrial properties especially, are the ones that are much more difficult and take much more time and energy to get through them. So,
But that's not your first class you've taken.
No.
You've taken quite
Oh,
a
no.
few classes
No.
recently on
Yeah.
commercial.
and I did the small stuff in Wright County. It was the bigger stuff that I really wasn't. We didn't have that many, so yeah.
My point is, you've been taking classes ever since you started here to continue augmenting your commercial experience, and it's been quite a few.
Yeah.
And then when can Kelly and company and Gilbert and Joe expect you to show up and share with them?
Well, I have sent emails to all of them. I did that, I don't know, back in December, I think, and just offered that service to them. And in fact, Kelly said that she will be putting in touch with me, somebody for the Ames School District, so that we can get something worked out there.
Okay.
So, yeah, and any other organizations or anything, I'd be happy to go out and give presentations on what my office does and why we do what we do. Done it several times. In fact, like I said earlier, just went and saw the Hunziker group last week. So,
Very good. All right. Thank you. Great report. Entertain motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.